Yes, good day, everyone. Hello, Ma'am Carissa. I hope you are happy and excited for today. Hello to all the participants that are watching right now. I hope you are as excited as the electrons that just absorbed a photon. Okay, so um, welcome to the second day of our webinar series on demystifying quantum mechanics, addressing misconceptions, possible strategies, and assessment tools for effective teaching. Okay, so I am Christine Salacito, and I will be one of your speakers for today as we talk about the possible strategies that we can use to help enlighten the difficulties of our learners to address the misconceptions. So to start, let me share to you my screen. So that's it for our discussion on the tools that we can use in teaching quantum mechanics. I hope you have gained something from our discussion today and that we can apply this later as we discuss topics in chemistry and physics relating to quantum mechanics. So now I'm going to give the floor to Ma'am Carissa as she talks about another engaging and fun teaching strategy which would help in the conceptual understanding of the learners in quantum mechanics. Ma'am Carissa?
Okay, ayan. So, teaching quantum mechanics is very challenging due to its nature. Of course, kasi maliit yung mga particles. At the same time, we cannot observe them by our naked eye. Which is why, as teachers, kailangan natin mag-devise ng mga strategies to make teaching this topic engaging to our learners. So today, I will be sharing some tools with you that we can use in our class for the enhancement of understanding of our learners. Okay, so the tools that I'm going to share with you are the analogies and the visualization tools. This is actually very common na ginagamit natin, but we need a few reminders on how we utilize them in our class. Okay, so let's start with the analogy. So one of the common tools that we use in teaching quantum mechanics or in our science class is analogy. That is because the use of analogy in teaching helps our students connect everyday experiences or familiar situations and objects with the scientific concepts that we present to them. So these analogies serve as a bridge between the preconceptions or existing knowledge that the students have to the new information that we relate to them. So it makes it easier for them to understand the abstract concepts, especially that in quantum mechanics. However, meron lang tayo mga disclaimer because when we use analogies that are not appreciated by our students, yung nangyayari is walang learning na nag-take place. So it could actually lead pa to misconceptions or even alternate conceptions. So we have to be very careful with the analogies that we present in our class and make sure that these analogies are something na makaka-relate yung bata, because learning can only be meaningful for them if the things we present to them is something na makaka-relate sila. Okay, we have different formats that we use in presenting analogies. So, first one is verbal. So, yung nagkukwento ka lang, ganon. Second one is pictorial verbal. So, my illustration, at the same time, you explain it verbally. And the last one is using the body motion and you complement it with your verbal explanations. Okay, so here are some examples of the analogies that are used in quantum mechanics. Okay, let's start with this one. Okay, these are actually atomic models, and these atomic models were described by the scientists in a way na makaka-relate rin yung not only the scientific community but also yung mga tao na hindi experts sa field ng science. So, like yung planetary model ni Bohr, so he likened it to the behavior of the planets around the solar system na they can be found on fixed orbits. While yung kay Thomson naman, yung plum pudding is similar, yung electrons ay similar sa English dessert na plum pudding. So, these things are familiar sa even sa mga common na tao. So, even though yung plum pudding, syempre hindi tayo familiar doon because it's an English dessert and later na lang siguro na meron na dito mga ganyang klase ng desserts in the Philippines. Okay, pero this is how the plum pudding looks like. Okay, so this is the plum pudding. Okay, at ito yung plum pudding model ni Thomson. Yung mga dark spots dito, yung mga plums are yung electrons. So, ganun niya in-illustrate yung kanyang plum pudding model of the atom. So, this is one good example of an analogy that we can use in teaching introductory quantum mechanics, especially dito sa mga high school teacher participants na nagtuturo ng chemistry, because we have a topic on quantum mechanical model, and syempre kasama na doon yung pag-explain ng energy levels ng electrons sa atom. So, dito pwede nating ma-explain kung bakit yung energy hindi siya continuous but it exists in fixed amounts or discrete siya. So, just like the ladder here, kapag nagsistep tayo, dito tayo nagsistep sa mga rungs, 'di ba? Hindi sa mga spaces. Okay? Kasi nga malalaglag tayo if doon tayo sa spaces mag-step. Okay? Similarly, dito sa ramp, wherein at any point pwede tayong mag-stop. Okay, so this one is continuous, pero ito may specific step ka na kailangan akakan for you to be able to go up. Okay, just like how electrons are occupying certain steps on the energy staircase. So, they can only have specific energy levels, and when an electron gains or lose energy, it would jump from to a higher or lower energy level respectively. Okay, another example of an analogy is in presenting the quantum numbers. Because quantum numbers help us to locate or help us get the probability of finding the electron in the atom. So, parang address siya. So, pwede natin siya ma-relate sa addresses talaga natin. So, the principal quantum number could be the province where we are in. Yung secondary quantum number or the azimuthal will be the municipality or the zip code. Yung magnetic number na quantum number naman yung barangay natin or yung street. Then yung yung spin quantum number naman is yung house number natin. So that is also a good analogy para maintindihan lang ng mga bata, ganito pala yung purpose ng quantum number. Hindi lang pala ano ba yung mga n1 na yan, n equals 1, l equals 0, mga ganun. So at least they know na hindi lang para pahirapan sila kapag nagsusolve, but they know the purpose of the concept. So here are some of the ways on how we could present analogies in teaching quantum mechanics. So this is from the study of Davis in 2015, wherein he presented here the teaching with analogies model. Okay, so it has 6 steps. This is a systematic approach. So it has 6 steps. So the first one is to introduce the target or yung topic or yung concept na gusto nating i-relay sa students. The second one is yung pag-assess natin if yung analogous equation na ibibigay natin is familiar sa mga students. Okay, because that is very important para ma-appreciate ng student yung gusto nating i-relay na concept. The third one is identifying the relevant features of the analog that we presented. So, i-relate na natin ito sa ating target na concept. Okay, then we map the similarities between the analog and the target. And we draw conclusions about the target. And the last one is to identify comparisons which the analogy breaks down. So, pwedeng mag-interchange dito yung number 5 and number 6 depending on how you deliver your lesson. So, we have here some examples. Pero bago natin i-present yung examples, may isa pang compressed na method ng pag-present ng analogy. This is the FAR guide. So, this is just a compressed method, compressed TWA. So, yung focus, dito natin pinipresent yung lesson and yung assessment ng analogy and ng concept. Sa action stage, dito na natin kino-compare yung mga characteristics ng ating analogs and targets. And sa reflection stage, dito na nagdodraw ng mga conclusions yung mga bata based on the analogy that we presented. So, it is important na when we teach students through analogs, importante rin na we teach them with other skills such as metacognition. Okay, so pwede na sila yung magre-reflect, hindi tayo yung magbibigay ng conclusion, but sila yung magre-reflect kung paano nila i-derive yung analogy na binigay natin or na-represent natin into the conclusion ng kung ano man yung concept na binigay natin. So, not only are we enhancing their conceptual understanding, we are also enhancing other skills na necessary rin sa kanila in the future, such as critical thinking and metacognition. Okay, so this is one example doon sa study ni Didas on the family relationship analogy or for the photoelectron emission. Okay, so dito, breakdown ng author yung analogy na ginamit into the TWA model. So, na-follow yung TWA model dito. But, I can present it to you in a compressed way. So, we have this one. Okay, so, the family relationship analog na present ng instructor doon sa study ni Didas is, nag-start siya by introducing the photoelectric effect, the emission of the photoelectrons, in which yung kailangan is the frequency of the light, not the intensity. And later, in-explain niya rin na it could illustrate the particle nature of light. And then, he added an argument na kasi kung wave yung light, meaning it would go back and forth until it breaks off the electrons hanggang sa makaalis yung electrons sa metal plates or maka-break away yung electrons sa metal plates. Ganon. So, that is the argument that he presented in that part. And then, he presented the analogs. Okay, so in here, he presented 2 analogs. The first one is asking permission from the father multiple times, and the second one is asking permission from the father effortlessly. So, pwede natin i-present ito sa class like para ma-assess natin if they are familiar sa ganitong situation. So, we will ask them, sino dito yung madaling kausap lang yung parents? Kapag may hihingin ka, okay agad. O sino naman dito yung mahirap kausap yung parents? Parang kailangan mo pang linisin ang buong barangay bago ka payagan. Okay, parang ganon. So, dito natin makikita yung response ng students if familiar sila sa situation na binigay natin. Okay, pero ano ba yung target nito? Bakit ganito yung analogy na binigay ng instructor? Okay, so in this part, kinonect na natin yung analogs na binigay ng instructor doon sa target na gusto niyang i-explain. So, for analog 1, yung asking permission from the father multiple times, ito yung classical interpretation ng light using the wave theory. Yung asking permission from the father effortlessly, okay, ito naman yung quantum interpretation ng light using the particle theory. Okay, so sometimes, di ba, when we ask permission, depende kasi yun sa kung paano natin sabihin. So, if insufficient yung pagkasabi natin ng ating intention, like for example, gusto nating gumala, if hindi convincing yung pag-ask permission natin, syempre, you need to take some effort pa to explain and explain over and over again hanggang payagan ka. But if sufficient na yung information na binigay natin para payagan tayo sa isang bagay, so in just one word, in just isang usapan, okay, go. So parang ganun yung pag-interpret ng instructor dito ng kung paano nire-relate yung particle and the wave behavior ng light. Okay, so the way you presented your argument for asking permission is similar to the frequency of light sa photoelectric experiment, a photoelectric effect experiment. So, if sufficient yung information and all, so syempre papayagan ka. If hindi naman, of course, no matter how much effort you take, kahit punasan mo pa yung buong katawan ng tatay mo or kahit linisin mo pa yung buong bahay, if hindi enough yung information na binigay mo kung bakit dapat kapayagan, so hindi ka talaga papayagan. So, it's like the father is the metallic plate and yung oo niya is yung electrons na mai-emit. Okay, so dito natin makikita that it's not the intensity of the light that allows the emission of electrons, but the frequency of light, which is related to the energy, kasi the higher the frequency, the higher in the energy of the light. Okay, so ganun yon. So dito na-explain na ng instructor na this analogy or the photoelectric effect pala is one of the ways to illustrate the particle nature of light. Okay, so at least somehow meron ng mapipicture out ng mga bata na ganun pala yung reason bakit sinabi na light is also a particle. Okay, pero sa study dito ni Didas, medyo implicit yung niya ng pag-explain niya dito ng analogy niya. So, maybe if he interpreted it or explained it explicitly, mas easier pa yung pag-understand ng concepts. Okay, but that is a good example rin ng analogy. Okay, we also have here other examples of analogies that were presented in the study of Didis. Okay, so we have the water drop analogy to present the quantization of energy. So dito, in-explain ng instructor na yung isang drop is like the quantum. Okay, so kapag inopen mo pa yung grape po, syempre mas mabilis pa yung mga drops. And for an observer, it would appear na parang continuous yung dripping ng water. Okay, pero if you are going to take a look at it closer and if in a slower rate, makikita mo na drop by drop yung pag-drip ng water, which explains the quantization of energy. Okay, ito naman, this is a body motion. The strongman analogy is a body motion verbal analogy naman. So dito, the strength of the person na nagpo-pull sa isang student would indicate kung meron ba, kung kaya ba niyang pagalawin yung student sa upuan or paalisin doon. So yung student na umuupo, parang electrons yun na nai-emit kapag nagsa-strike yung light. Yung nagpo-pull is yung light. So if hindi enough yung energy niya, so hindi makakalis sa upuan yung student. Pero if he has enough strength to pull the person, so meaning yung energy niya is enough para mapaalis yung person. Similar with the photoelectric effect, wherein if the light is on a specific energy level na enough para makapa-emit ng electrons, so mai-emit yung mga electrons. Pero if hindi, so walang emission. Okay, another good example is this good citizen analogy. So just as the good citizen is expected to adhere to certain rules and responsibilities within the community, a particle in a box is also restricted by the boundaries of the box, leading to quantized energy levels and specific spatial distributions of the particle within the box. So this kind of analogy emphasizes the idea that both the citizen and the particles are subject to constraints that define their behavior and interaction. Also, it could extend to the idea that when we follow rules of the society, we contribute positively to the community. So similar on how the particle in the box, when it is confined within its boundaries, it would exhibit quantized energy states that contribute to the overall behavior of the system. Okay, so next we have the visual tools, because this is one of the important aids rin sa ating discussion with the science concepts that we present to our students, and this is rooted actually sa theory ni Brunner ng modes of representations. So graphs, diagrams, visual models are important in teaching science because it would help the students understand the concepts, and it could also include the ability to use the representations or visualization to improve their communication skills, how to select appropriate representations, and to use them to explain phenomena. So this could also be used to integrate new knowledge with existing knowledge. Here are some examples of the visual tools that we can use. Pwede tayong gumamit ng comparison diagram when we teach introductory quantum mechanics. At least makikita ng mga bata bakit ba ni-reject yung model ni Bohr. Okay, somehow ma-appreciate nila kung bakit ganun na yung itsura ng model ng atom. Okay, we also have this one. These atomic models actually very prominent pa rin siya sa mga students hanggang ngayon. So when you ask students how they draw or how they illustrate the model of the atom, most likely they would represent it using the Bohr model of the atom. So it's a sad reality, pero at the same time ay meron din kasing pinanggagalingan to because mahirap kasi i-draw yung quantum mechanical model kasi 3D na siya, 'di ba? So hindi naman lahat nila kaya mag-draw sa board ng 3D model. So hindi naman natin, I don't know lang, parang makikita naman natin kung saan nanggaling yung mga teachers na hanggang ngayon gumagamit pa rin ng Bohr model ng atom. Pero what's important is kailangan ipaintindi natin na this is just a way of illustrating the number of electrons that can be found in certain energy levels. But this is not the actual model of the atom, because the model of the atom is this. This is the model of the atom. Okay, we just use the Bohr model to show yung number of electrons in a particular energy level. And sometimes ginagamit pa rin natin to when we illustrate bonding, yung Bohr model. So that is why na parang hindi natin totally mabiblame yung students kung bakit ganyan yung concept nila, kasi hanggang ngayon ginagamit pa rin naman yung previous models ng atom. Okay, so what is important is we have to emphasize to them talaga na ito na yung model ng atom. Okay, and of course, when locating the or when illustrating the location of the atom, parang ang hirap rin if we illustrate it using the electron cloud model. That is also the reason why up to now we still use the Bohr model of the atom. Pero as what I have mentioned, yun nga, let's just emphasize that this is already the model of the atom, and the electrons are not found on fixed orbits, but they are found on spaces called as the orbitals or the electron cloud. Okay, so yun rin yung isa sa mga concepts na kailangang maintindihan ng mga students. Okay, parang ganito pa rin. Okay, but yun lang. Again, we have to emphasize to them that electrons are found in what we call orbitals. Okay, in fuzzy clouds called as orbitals. Okay, hindi sila nakikita sa fixed orbits, similar dito sa illustration ng planetary model. So this is how we show the probability density concept in finding the probability of finding the electron in an atom. So kung saan yung mas denser, doon yung mas malaki yung probability na nandun yung electron. So this is an s orbital, which is imagined like an onion kasi spherical yung shape ng s orbital. This one is an example of an illustration for the electron configuration. Okay, usually ito yung ginagamit natin, yung parang Christmas tree. Pero I like this one also kasi nakikita rin yung pag-increase ng energy level. Okay, so whichever is comfortable sa mga students natin, we can use both naman. Pero I like this one kasi we can see how many electrons can be found in each orbital, tapos makikita mo talaga yung energy levels niya. And also in electron configuration, pwede rin natin gamitin yung orbital diagrams. Okay, like this one, parang yung kanina, pero instead of circles, meron na ditong arrows to represent the spins of the electrons in each orbital. So I think this is much better to illustrate yung kung how much yung number of electrons in an atom compared to using the Bohr model. Kasi medyo restricted yung Bohr model, hanggang main energy level lang siya. So ito may sub-level na, so at least mas easier for the students to understand the principle of the quantum mechanical model. So we can also use graphs, okay, just like this one. So at least dito makikita natin yung relationship ng isang quantity to the other. So in the case of the wave function of the particle in a box, makikita natin kung paano na-affect ng energy yung wavelength ng wave function natin. Okay, so we can use graphs, diagrams for illustrating concepts, especially yung medyo deep, very deep na. Okay, we can also use animations to illustrate some phenomena. So this one is an animation, I think, of the wave interference. Okay, then we also have this one, yung explanation na, this is actually a clip from YouTube na nakuha ko. Okay, tapos minute ko lang yung yung sound para makapag-explain ako sa mga students ng kung paano ba ito ini-interpret. Okay, so yun. So if your laptops have a print screen na feature, you can actually use that one kasi pwede siyang mag-screen record. Pwede mo i-select yung area na gusto mong i-record. And you can get clips from YouTube. Okay, this is another example. This is a clip.
Represents the most probable location where we'll observe the particle, because this is where the amplitude is greatest. Suppose that the particle bounces off a barrier.
So this is an animation of quantum tunneling. Okay, so kung paano ba nababounce yung dito, yung particle kapag nandyan na siya sa barrier. Okay, so yun for animations. Okay, and we also have simulations, which are also very important, especially on hands-on experiences of our learners. So, some of these are downloadable. Yung iba pwede rin, pero may mga specific lang siyang language para ma-open natin. But it can be opened online rin. And this is from PET. Okay, we have another website where we can find good simulations for quantum mechanics. Okay, this one, yung scope niya, parang all sciences. Pero yung isa is made specifically for quantum mechanics lang. So, or quantum physics. So, we have the QBIS. Okay, so this is the QBIS. This is a project of the University of St. Andrews. And this is a very nice simulation actually kasi not only does it have the manipulation, but it also has the explanations, and some have challenges or exercises for assessment. So I'm going to show this to you. I'll just change my screen lang. hindi to tinuturo sa lower levels sa basic ed. But siguro kung may mga interesado and maybe we have some science enthusiasts here, we can use this to show the quantum tunneling. Okay, pwede nating i-show muna as a plane wave. Okay, so makikita natin na if the energy is near the constant potential, di ba? The affected yung wavelength ng wave function. Okay, if we're going to take a look at this in a wave function, okay, pero kung plane wave lang, makikita natin na sa step naman. So what we can see is, okay, halimbawa ito. Line ng makikita natin na nag-shift yung amplitude ng what do you call this? Ng ating wave function pag nandito sa barrier. Well, pero if ganito, you can see simulation. Ito na, nandito na yung power. Ayun. So, this is the wave. So, kung tataasan natin yung magnetic field, makikita natin yung shift ng mga ng ating atomic nucleus. Okay, and makikita natin yung mga radius. This is the one. Halimbawa, may explore those, and it could help you rin to teach in quantum mechanics. So the other one is that one of UV. So this is yung uncertainty. Comparison of the particles, electromagnetic waves, and of course photons. Okay, pasensya na sa sounds kasi nawala yung aking noise reduction na app. Okay, but anyway, okay, if we fire this, yan, ganyan yung mangyayari. So, if continuous yung firing natin, okay, so, this one is for electromagnetic wave. Ito naman yung nangyayari. Okay, and this is for single photons. Tapos, meron itong step-by-step explanation. Bakit ganito yung nangyayari? Hindi ko maintindihan. Okay, so dito, may explanation. So, this is the explanation for the classical particles. Then, click mo lang to if you want the explanation for the meron sila. Tapos, isang detector lang will fire after absorbing the full Then, what with the larger the quantum number n, okay, ano kayang sagot? Okay, if I click submit here, o diba, partially correct lang ako. Ano pa ba yung ibang sagot? Diba, at least may kita kaagad if the start to utilize this. Okay, but that's it. You can explore this one kasi this is available online. Yung QVIS, you just search QVIS, lalabas lang siya. The same with the PhET simulation.
So that's it for our discussion on the tools that we can use in teaching quantum mechanics. I hope you have gained something from our discussion today and that we can apply this later as we discuss topics in chemistry and physics relating to quantum mechanics. So now I'm going to give the floor to Ma'am Carissa as she talks about another engaging and fun teaching strategy which would help in the conceptual understanding of the learners in quantum mechanics. Ma'am Carissa?
Thank you, Ma'am Chris. Thank you for sharing the different tools that we can use in teaching quantum mechanics. By the way, welcome esteemed educators and enthusiasts to today's discourse on another strategy that we can use in teaching physics, and that is gamification. The following are the contents of our discussion. Number 1, what is gamification? 2, benefits of gamifying physics learning. 3, gamification strategies for physics topics. And lastly, design considerations. So the question is, what is gamification? First, let us lay the foundation by understanding the essence of gamification. As emphasized by Tolentino and Roleda, gamification transcends mere entertainment, encompassing the strategic infusion of game elements and design techniques into non-game components or contexts. That means the addition of captivating features such as points, badges, leaderboards, levels, challenges, feedback, and narrative into the fabric of traditional physics learning activities. Gamification is actually different from game-based learning. Gamification enhances existing learning activities with game elements, while game-based learning entails crafting educational experiences that are inherently or intrinsically game-like. However, both promote engagement and sustained motivation in learning. Successful gamification depends upon 3 pillars. The first one, there should be a nuanced understanding of students' learning styles and needs. Second, there should be clear objectives and outcomes so that players know what they should do. And the last one, the selection of game elements that motivate students toward desired goals should be appropriate. Game elements can be categorized into dynamics, mechanics, and components. These categories are also divided based on levels of abstraction. The table presents a description and examples of these categories. Each of the mechanics provides a way to implement one or more dynamics in a game, and similarly, components are tied to one or more of these higher level elements. There are 4 effective game elements. The first one is freedom to fail. This encourages students to take experiment and take risks to learn. The second one is interest curve, highlighting the flow and sequence of events over time to maintain engagement. The third one is storytelling. Students learn better when the facts are embedded in the story. And lastly, feedback. Frequent and targeted feedback should be done while doing the gamification activities. Other elements of gamification were also identified in another study, and these are progression, collaboration, and competition. Researchers emphasize that gamification is not simply about the use of game elements. It should contain aspects of game design, game techniques, and game thinking, which are all important in making a learning plan. Delving deeper, let us uncover the benefits that await those who embrace gamification in physics education. First, there is enhanced motivation and engagement. By infusing elements of play and competition, gamification captivates students' interest and fuels their intrinsic motivation to explore physics concepts. Second, there are improved learning outcomes. Engaged learners are more likely to absorb and retain complex concepts, leading to tangible improvements in academic performance. Third, the gap between theory and practice is linked using gamification as it provides a bridge between abstract physics theories and real-world applications, fostering deeper understanding and appreciation. And fourth, critical skills are also developed. Through gamified learning experiences, students hone critical skills such as problem solving, creativity, and analytical thinking, essential for success in both academia and as according to Valentina and Roletta, gamifying physics instruction is an effective approach in increasing student achievement in physics. Student motivation is also influenced positively. Although the preparation and implementation are a demanding task for teachers, its positive effect on students' achievement and attitude towards learning physics and assessment was all worth it. Furthermore, in the study of Ocaris and her colleagues, they emphasize that gamified laboratory sessions boost students' extrinsic motivation and consequently inspire their intrinsic motivation, which later on increases their learning performance. Now, let us unveil practical strategies tailored to infuse gamification into physics education. These are based from University of Waterloo, Center for Teaching Excellence. Let us start by dissecting the mechanics that underpin the gamification landscape in physics education. The first element, the points or experience systems. Resonating with traditional grading frameworks, these systems reward students for completing tasks and assignments, offering a dynamic alternative to conventional grading. They introduce invaluable affordances that includes limitless points, flexible goal structures, student autonomy, seamless tracking mechanisms, and academic rewards. Next, we have badges or digital badges. These are means of acknowledging student achievements and fostering a culture of recognition. Badges serve as digital markers of students' accomplishments, whether in mastering complex concepts, contributing to discussions, or engaging in additional coursework. They symbolize not just achievement but also participation, encouraging a sense of accomplishment and camaraderie among learners. Badges can be made using applications such as Make, Dodge, and Canva. Now, let us explore the potential of leaderboards to infuse healthy competition and motivation into the learning journey. Leaderboards showcase students' progress and achievements, instilling a sense of competition and motivation. However, caution must be exercised to ensure that they inspire rather than discourage, with strategies such as limited visibility to prevent demotivation among low-performing students. We can create leaderboards for free using Keep the Score applications. Venturing into the digital realm, we uncover innovative strategies to gamify physics learning beyond the confines of traditional classrooms. By giving incentives for active participation in this course, discussion boards become hubs of engagement, offering opportunities for reflection and collaboration. There are a lot of platforms where we can make discussion boards, and one of it is the Padlet. Instead of presenting disconnected questions, you may craft narratives or quests that immerse learners and showcase the repercussions of their choices. Make your quiz as an interactive story, where each question flows into the next, building upon previous answers to form a cohesive narrative that keeps learners engrossed. However, avoid overly emphasizing grades, as this could detract them from game-like experience. An alternative approach involves having students complete an online quiz independently before attending class, where they can collaborate in groups to discuss and defend their answers. Designing Jeopardy-style games to review chapters or prepare for examinations offers an engaging opportunity for enjoyment and interaction within a familiar gaming framework. You can craft these games using PowerPoint or utilize user-friendly Jeopardy game creators like Instant Jeopardy. Gathering responses from an entire class can be difficult. Students might not participate or having difficulty to tell their answers. However, classroom response systems like Kahoot can encourage participation through game elements like points and competition between individuals. The picture shows how Kahoot is being used and how it is being presented. For quantum mechanics, you may try building models, circuits, or map magnetic fields with levels progressing through difficulty. Or you may try making narrative-driven challenges to simulate particle collisions or model quantum phenomena. A research was done by Rasul and his colleagues, which discusses the implementation of gamification in a web-based learning environment for physics problem solving. It utilizes ALEPS, or Adaptive Learning Environment for Problem Solving, which is based on Polya's problem-solving strategies. The system incorporates visualization to emphasize and clarify problem solving. The instructional design follows Polya's four-stage problem-solving model, which includes understanding the problem, devising a plan, executing the plan, and reviewing the solution. The gamification elements within the system encompass both social aspects like leaderboards and virtual goods. There are also self-elements such as points, levels, trophies, and time restrictions. The aim is to enhance student engagement and maximize learning outcomes in an e-learning setting. We also have game-based learning environments. These are educational games that serve as engaging tools for reinforcing concepts and fostering exploration via informal instruction. The game itself acts as an educator. One example is the Trivia Trap. Lastly, we have game-enhanced learning environments. These are commercial games designed for entertainment. Educators use this as avenues for experiential learning and reflection, transcending traditional pedagogical boundaries. For example, games like SimCity can help understand economic principles. Now, our role as educators is to provide or invite examples of games that are related to our discipline. As architects of gamified learning experiences, let us follow the following considerations. First, ensure there is seamless integration of game elements to reinforce specific learning objectives and competencies. Second, strike a delicate balance between challenging students to stretch their abilities and rewarding their achievements to sustain motivation. Third, embed gamification elements seamlessly into existing learning management systems, minimizing disruptions while maximizing engagement. Lastly, proactively identify and address potential technical or motivational challenges to ensure a smooth and immersive gamified learning experience. These are my references. In summary, gamification emerges as catalyst for transformative learning experiences in physics education. By embracing the principles of play and competition, we can invigorate classrooms, inspire curiosity, and empower students to embark on a thrilling journey of discovery in physics. Thank you for your unwavering dedication to the pursuit of knowledge and excellence in education.